This episode of the Busted Wide Open podcast is brought to you by Blueberry. Blueberry offers the best media hosting, accurate listening stats, and their all-new PowerPress Deluxe sites, a no-setup WordPress website for your podcast with all the necessary links to share your show with the world built right in. If you currently produce a podcast and are looking for a better media host or looking to start a new one from scratch, head over to orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO and sign up for the best media hosting and a PowerPress Deluxe site to get your first month absolutely free. That's orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO, or just use the promo code BWO at checkout for your first month free. And with that said, enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Roseanne, host of California Dreaming, a podcast that brings you true crime tales from the Golden State, and you are listening to Busted Wide Open on the Orbital Jigsaw Network.
You're listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast, dropping the elbow on the hottest topics in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. With your hosts, Nick Howell and Sir Ian Dangerous. Coming to you from the Orbital Jigsaw Network Arena in sunny Southern California. Welcome back to the Busted Wide Open podcast, but if this is your first time joining the show, I'd like to welcome you to episode number 72. I'm Nick Howell.
And touched inappropriately by Bobby Lashley's segment this week, I am Sir Ian Dangerous. Welcome to the show. This was a pretty rough week of WWE TV, which is ironic considering the enormous deals that WWE has made in the last 2 weeks. Well, we'll talk about that at the top of the show in our big news segment. But we just got to talk about what we're going to do on the show today. We're going to talk WWE and their major programming this week and try and get through that. It was rough. We try to be positive on the show. We definitely, there's a reason we watch professional wrestling, sports entertainment. There's a reason we watch WWE, and it's because of the good times. They're not all good times. No. And this is one of those weeks where we're going to have to critique the product a little bit and just ask how some of these things happened. We also got to talk about NXT 205 Live. New Japan is doing some great stuff right now, plus some other news. But yeah, Nick, before we get going with the show here, let's start talking about the big news.
$100 billion.
No, just $1 billion.
Oh,
$1 billion.
Well, who does things in $1 billion anymore? It's 2018.
$1 billion.
Smackdown Live has been sold to Fox in a 5-year deal for $1 billion.
Oh my God! So our eyes widened and our jaws dropped when Raw was re-upped by USA, by NBC Universal, for $750 million about a week or so ago. That was a huge deal. That's a ton of money. It's a lot more than they were previously making, 3 times what they were previously making for both shows. Now they've individually they've sold both shows individually, $750 million and $1 billion each. That's insane. It's an insane amount of money. I was reading the Wrestling Observer, and Meltzer was saying that after the Raw sale, WWE needed to make a minimum of $80 to $160 million in the Smackdown Live sale. After NBC, they passed on the first look.
This was in order to cover like what they would normally make on ad sales.
This they're already way above what they were already making, like their previous budgets. They needed to make $80 to $160 million, and at that point, they would no longer need the live show or the house show revenue to be able to operate at their current standards.
Holy smokes!
In other words, now that they're making 8 times that amount, they literally don't need anything. They're so far above. The live stuff has just no meaning to them now. Or as far as financial, they can do whatever they want with it.
That has a lot of implications, doesn't it? If you're going to go from live to back to pre-recorded, right?
Yeah, I mean, they can do whatever they want. Obviously, so the speculation, people were talking about the lack of pyro was like the big obvious way they were cutting corners on stuff. Like, right. We're not. Well, the part of that has to do with budgets. And if you're trying to make deals, you can come in and say, this is how profitable we are over a given time frame. So they cut the pyro, and all of a sudden they're that much more profitable in that time frame, and they're trying to get sold. At this point now, once these deals are officially signed, sealed, delivered, who knows what we can expect? If they will try to get a higher production value at live shows, or if they'll just say, well, you know what? We don't really care if people come to our live shows or not anymore. It's only going to be a matter of, if how it affects the product that we're showing on TV in terms of the audience interaction that we get from the live crowds.
Yeah.
They don't need to do anything at live shows anymore in terms
Well,
of
with that much money, you could just CGI the audience into place.
the only thing that it is, it's they just need to provide content now. That's all they are, is a content provider. And they're golden. And all they have to do is just not alienate their entire audience and keep a reasonable amount of ratings coming in. And they're golden as far as money is concerned. Obviously, there's going to be a certain baseline level of product quality they have to maintain. As I said, they've got to be able to maintain the audience to a certain degree. But the other aspect of this is Smackdown is now going to be, in some ways, the higher profile brand. They're talking about in 2019, October 2019, Smackdown will probably be on Fridays on Fox. Now, whether that means network Fox TV or whether it'll be FX or where it will end up on the Fox networks, unknown. But at that amount of money, you would assume they would have it be at some major. It would be a major player on their programming.
Well, if you guys remember earlier in this year, I pretty much basically I have an inside source at Fox that has pretty much 100% confirmed that WWE was coming to Fox. The NBC Universal swerve for Raw was a bit of a, oh my God, that came out of nowhere. So I think the original plan for Fox was to have Raw on primetime network TV and then have SmackDown on one of the Fox FS1 or whatever one of the other sub channels were. Now that NBC has taken Raw, there's no reason for them not to put this on network TV, and it's a great spot to put it on Friday nights in prime time.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how they shuffle things around, because that means that in a lot of ways SmackDown will become their A show because it will have the most eyes on it. So, if you see superstars start, the people that they want to push the most start filtering over to SmackDown, that'll be why.
Yeah, and you've also got UFC going over to Disney or ESPN more specifically now in part of this mix too. So it becomes a three-way battle between Fox, NBC, and ESPN for this kind of combat sports entertainment arena. I think this is going to shake out to be really, really good for us as fans, and I'm very excited about this. This is the first time we've seen this on like big network TV like this.
Really, because I'm actually really nervous about this.
Okay,
I think that I know what you're saying there as far as it having the higher exposure on network TV, but I think that it's also going to possibly build in a bit of laziness in terms of the product that they put out there. Because they've been paid now.
You think because it's going to be sterilized in a sense?
I wonder. And actually, one of our in our Facebook discussion group, we have a Busted Wide Open Facebook discussion group. Please join us and join in the conversation. One of our listeners over there, Derek Gator Guy McRae, asked us if the Fox deal meant that we would see a shift in storylines for fear of a more public backlash. For instance, he brought up the bullying storyline with Nia and Alexa, this week's Lashley's sisters debacle,
whatever that was.
The whole, he called it the Pinshasa as a means to appease the new audience by having more cookie cutter type angles. I think he's referring to the fact that they're having kind of sillier angles where the whole AJ Nakamura feud is just about cock knocking at this point.
Right.
And I think that WWE has always had cookie cutter storylines. They've always had silly crap like Lashley's sisters. That's just bad TV and just should have been killed in the boardroom, killed in the back before it even got out to the main arena. The fact that they've already been doing that means that I think that will probably continue because it's safe, because it's a safe thing to do. As far as like the Nia bullying storyline and anything like that, that's just a matter of WWE is now trying to appeal to the mainstream audience even more. It's not like the Attitude
social
Era.
Progressives and things like that.
They cared about in Attitude Era. They cared about young male demographic.
Yeah.
Now they're trying to get everybody, whether it's pushing the women's revolution now as opposed to 8 years ago, because they're trying to capture a female audience and look like they're a progressive company.
Right.
Whether it's the bullying stuff because they have Be a Star and they want to promote their own charities, whatever it is. Partnering with Susan G. Komen, which is, by the way, if you really investigate them, is an absolute crap organization.
Right.
But it's their way of looking, at least on the surface, like a socially aware company. And so that's the only reason that they do that sort of thing. It's not going to be because of being on this TV station or that TV station. That's more about their investors, shareholders, and being able to appear like, everything's above board with their company.
So while this does have a bit of an air of, too many cooks in the kitchen potentially being this way, especially since it's not going to be live TV, I'm gonna do my skeptically optimistic thing where I see this as USA versus Fox, and certain amount of money, A versus amount of money versus B amount of money. And I think when you've got the level of resources between those two, it far outweighs what you could have possibly done on USA with that amount of money versus being on primetime Friday night Fox with $1 billion.
Well, and
I think it's going to make all kinds of good differences for the show.
By contrast, I'm skeptically optimistic, or optimistically skeptical, or pessimistically optimistic.
Don't hurt yourself.
It hurts. My brain hurts. It's a lot to wrap your head around, but at the same time, I think that one upside to this, if I'm going to look at this as a glass half full thing, is that this could be the first time we've seen an actual proper brand competition. They've said, Raw and SmackDown are now in competition for ratings and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they're on the same network. When they're on different networks, will we actually see brand competition where they're trying to outdo the other one? Are they going to try and get better ratings on USA than they are on Fox and vice versa? That could be good for creative, because the onus is now going to be on creative to make better TV without the need to at this point. They're paid. They got their checks. So the real impetus to create good TV is really going to be within their own company. Like, do they want to outperform the show that they have on the other network?
Yeah.
And that's going to be the question. And it's going to be real interesting to see if they get lazy or if they take this as a reason to double down and make more compelling TV.
Well, we're looking at October of 2019. Did I hear you right when he says? So we've got a good 18 months almost for this to become real. For
Things
this
move
turnover
very
to
slow
happen.
in the entertainment industry until they move fast.
Yes.
As you and I have found out in the last week.
Yes.
Foreshadowing.
But hang on tight, because there's more to be determined around this deal. I think the fact that they inked the deal is a good thing. How things shake out over the next 18 months, I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll just have to wait and see.
One more thing I want to mention at the top of the show.
Yes.
As of May 24th, it has been 19 years since Owen Hart passed away in the ring. If that was before your time, if you're not aware of what happened, Owen Hart was a massively talented wrestler back in the 90s, very underappreciated in his time. A bit of a controversial figure. A lot of people still blame him for breaking Steve Austin's neck accidentally in a botched piledriver spot. I know Austin struggled with that personally. But at the end of the day, just very well liked pretty much universally, and an excellent technical wrestler. And still one of the greatest matches of all time was him and Bret Hart in a cage. But the brother of Bret Hart. So he passed away. He during a stunt, he was playing a Blue Blazer character. He played a sort of a pseudo luchador character, is almost a goof.
Yep.
And he was supposed to descend from the ceiling at Over the Edge in 1999. And his harness broke. He had a quick release mechanism on the harness, and it was faulty, and there was no backup mechanism, and so the whole harness fell open. He basically dropped from the ceiling onto the ring post, chest first. And if you were watching the pay-per-view live, you saw it happen. They edited it out pretty much immediately I believe the West Coast even didn't see it, but they had to actually call it on the show. Jim Ross had to call it on the show. Owen Hart has passed away, and they had the show went on. They didn't stop the show. And they've only just recently now actually released that show back onto the network, edited so that you don't see any Owen Hart, and it's referenced at the top of the show. This is the show that Owen Hart passed away, all respect and everything. That being said, one thing I wanted to bring up when we're talking about Owen Hart and just kind of remembering him is that he's not in the Hall of Fame. And that's mind-blowing to me. And a large part of that is because his widow, Martha Hart, is very anti-WWE and wants nothing to do with them, has sued them multiple times for wrongful death and so forth. And even the rest of the Hart family is saying that she's being unreasonable at this point, but she is the major reason why he's not in the Hall of Fame, and her politicking to not have him in. And I'm torn because, she is at this point, she's kind of the last, closest. It's her and Bret are the last two closest people to him. And Bret's all about him getting in because Bret has mended his fences with the WWE.
Yep.
I personally, if it were up to me, Owen would have been in years ago.
I agree with that. For you have to look at it objectively from what he accomplished, not the demise, so to speak. He was fantastic in the 90s, and he was getting to that point where he was, I mean, if you look at it, right as about Stone Cold was about to just really take off. That was around that time frame. So
He's one of the reasons he didn't take off as fast as
I understand that. To be fair, but there's what he accomplished in the WWE. I think he absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. As far as Martha goes and the rest of the Hart family, even the Neidharts and all of those. So Natalia's had a great career. Anvil Neidhart's had a great career. I mean, there's no reason to not include all but the entire Hart family in the Hall of Fame at some point. Natty's going to wrap up her career sometime in the future. Every single member of that family has had a direct impact on the WWE and deserves to have a spot in that Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Everyone who went through the Hart Dungeon and the Stampede Wrestling in Calgary, that's been a huge influence on modern wrestling, not even just WWE. So, no, I think it's a no-brainer for Owen to go in. It's just a matter of the obstacles that are out there keeping him from going in. And so just a good day to remember him. I'm probably at some point going to get me some chicken nuggets today because just remembering him. He was not a nugget.
Yes.
But
yes.
I will have some chicken nuggets in his honor.
Well, we got to do it, Ian. We got to go talk about what went down this week on WWE. It was not pretty.
Oh, man.
But let's start things off with Monday Night Raw.
So I'm going to start talking about Raw by just talking about the whole first hour. They were able to actually weave the whole opening segment into being about an hour of material. And it started off with Kurt Angle coming out and being interrupted by the returning Stephanie McMahon.
Yes.
And you say yes. I'm always torn when Stephanie comes out because, on one hand, she is a fantastic performer and she she gets heel heat with me more cleanly than anybody else possibly can. And part of that's because it's genuine heat. Like there's aspects of who she really is and how she portrays her character that I just don't agree with from a creative standpoint. But that being said, she is great.
She's
great
good
on
at being
TV.
the bad guy.
She's really, really, really good at being the bad guy, making you just hate her. And that was the case here, where she came out and ran down Kurt again and ended up questioning his decisions on Raw and questioning how he was treating the big dog, Roman Reigns.
Yeah, look, Kurt Angle had started to get a little bit long in the tooth. We were getting into a repetitive thing. Roman Reigns was running wild and running rampant backstage, so we needed Stephanie McMahon as the commissioner, as the figurehead, to come in and set things straight.
It was logic.
It was a welcome return.
There was logic. There was logic there, and I did not mind the segment. The only thing I'm still questioning is the fact that they continue to go with this Roman Reigns versus the Authority angle. Well, we've never seen this again. Never seen this before. Is right. the Authority coming in and running down the big guy? So here we are again.
5 years maybe since Daniel Bryan's run in with the Authority. And
not
all
even
that?
Daniel Bryan. It's been like a versus the Authority thing as long as we can remember. Even Jack Tunney back in the day. But this is fine. This was fine. Roman did not give the best promo. Not surprisingly, but it was all fine. Here's where it got weird. Kevin Owens came out for some reason to say, "Hey, Stephanie, I like you. You like me. I don't like Roman." And that was really the only reason he came out. Like, it didn't make sense why he came out there.
It does make sense. He came out to have Stephanie's back because Kurt started going and Roman started going after her because there was they were saying there was no reason to be there. But I appreciate that he came out and had her back and saying, "No, he's been running rampant. Kurt doesn't know what he's doing. Stephanie, you know what you're doing." There was an interesting moment where he rested his arm on her shoulder.
Yes.
And she just gave him the look of death.
That was the highlight of the segment for me, was Kevin's reaction to that. Thank you for figuring that out for me, Sensei, because Lord knows I couldn't figure out why the heck that was happening. And it ended up in a Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns match, which then Jinder Mahal came out and got involved in, and then Seth came out for the save, and then it ended up in a tag match. This is all the first hour of Raw. They were able to make an hour of TV out of this. Now, here's the question. Why? Why did they do all this? Why have all this confusion and kerfuffle going on with all of these particular guys? Is this going to a feud somewhere? We know already we've got Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal at Money in the Bank.
Yep.
Seth does not have a match scheduled yet for the Intercontinental belt, although he does have a match against Jinder Mahal next week. Kevin Owens just had a match against Seth last week and lost for the Intercontinental title. So I was trying to figure out why have all of this going on. So here's my suspicion.
Okay.
Seth Rollins right now is the most over guy on Raw.
Arguable,
possibly
but I
in the
agree
company.
with you. Yeah.
Possibly in the company. He's over as hell right now. People love him. So having him standing next to Roman Reigns gets Roman cheered by proxy. In addition, Jinder is one of the most hated guys on the roster. Having him stand next to anybody is a surefire way to get the other person cheered and Jinder booed. Unless it's Roman Reigns, in which case people just still can't stand him. Although he was getting a pretty good reaction in Albany this week. But hey, this is what I think was going on with this, is having the Seth and Jinder thing simmering is to reestablish Seth, good guy, Jinder, bad guy. And then when you put Jinder back against Roman, that rub will still be on Jinder to make it even harder to cheer for him against Roman. That is my theory here. And maybe it's a crazy theory, but that was the only thing I could think about why all of this happened.
So do you think Jinder's next in line for the Intercontinental title opportunity? Is that where you think this is going?
I don't know. All I know is that this open challenge thing, it's not really open. They're kind of planning it a little too far.
They messed that up. They totally messed that up
really
with Kevin Owens.
Challenge.
Like, it's not an open challenge if you announce before the show, a week before the show, who the opponent's going to be in the open challenge.
It makes sense because you really kind of do open challenges when there's not really a feud going on, and there's just too much to do on Raw. There's too many people that they already have established there, and they need to start building these feuds. So it makes sense. I definitely like an open challenge more because of the surprise of who's going to come out and challenge. We could get some matches we didn't think about. But that being said, here we are, and it looks like Seth's going to be going to some sort of feud by Money in the Bank once we get through Jinder Mahal next week, and then Jinder and Roman can settle into their feud, which again is fine. Let Jinder and Roman have their feud. That's one I'm not really mad about because I really don't care. And good. Go have Roman deal with Jinder off on the side and give me some more TV somewhere else.
I guess in a weird way, the more I think about this now that we're talking about it, is I don't really care. It's one of those things where I enjoyed the theater of this opening segment of Raw, and that's what I want out of my opening segments on these big programs like this. I want there to be story between, Stephanie and Kevin having an angle, and Roman and Jinder, and even Kurt Angle to an extent having an angle going on, no pun intended. But the idea of this whole big kind of theater thing going on, that's what the spectacle of it is, what I want to see. If I just want to watch dudes beat each other up, I've got 10 different choices I can go do that on.
Oh, which this
is why I watch
sometimes
Raw.
I prefer that. But you speak to a good point here, which is that when done well, this kind of larger form segment storytelling, where they weave the segments together into one larger bit, is great, and it's engaging. It keeps you engaged because you don't know what's going to happen next. That was well done. The intention was there. I don't think the execution was done that well on this. But that being said, it was a good shot.
Yeah.
As far as theater is concerned, we got to talk about one of the worst pieces of theater in arguably WWE history. I mean,
Speaking of execution and all of that stuff,
there have been some low points in WWE history which have been spoken about ad nauseum. But in the modern era, like let's say the last 8 to 10 years of WWE, there are some segments that go down as being the worst pieces of TV that we can, in this modern era. Bailey, This Is Your Life is one that pops up. Old Day with Gallows and Anderson is another one.
Yep.
Bobby Lashley's Sisters with Sami Zayn is going to go down as one of the worst. It was absolutely abominable. We called it out last week, like this looks like it's going to be really bad. Man, were we right.
And unfortunately, they steered the ship into it.
Holy
it would have been fine if it was a thing that was just related to the interview and we moved past it, and Sami Zayn called it out and made fun of it. Fine, we moved past it. They have a match. No. Let's take the entire Titanic of WWE and turn that ship right into this by bringing out some local talent and dressing them up as women to be Bobby Lashley's sisters.
Or developmental, those poor guys. I mean...
I can't even get my head around where this didn't get stopped somewhere.
Yeah, who let this go?
All the way up the ladder. Somebody had to approve this multiple levels.
Can you imagine the Sami Zayn's stomach when he was given this script? Just the sinking feeling he must have. Oh my God, I've got to do like Like, I mean,
Seriously?
Miz getting shackled with the balls, LeVar Ball and kids and him trying to save that segment.
Glad you brought that one up.
But that was a terrible segment that was saved by Miz and Dean Ambrose. Yep. They absolutely saved that segment, and it's a very entertaining segment. And as much as I crapped on the balls in that segment, I laid the blame at their feet.
Sure.
That segment didn't work because of them. This segment did not work because Lashley cannot act. And when he did come out, it was just awkward as hell. The writers I don't know what they were on, what kind of crazy pills they were on to have come up with this.
Don't do PCP, kids.
PCP can't even explain this. There's some other super drug that they had to have been on. I mean, this is the sort of thing that you can't even see being done by like a high school student.
All right, so let's have a superlative sort of thing here. Is this, in your opinion, better or worse? God, I hate to say the word better. Is this worse than Bayley This Is Your Life, or does Bayley This Is Your Life still hold that crown?
That's a very good question, and I have a solid answer for it.
Okay, go.
This is not as bad as Bayley This Is Your Life.
I agree.
Yet. And
that's a good point.
That's the thing, it's a historical thing. Bayley This Is Your Life, you could argue, is the flashpoint where Bayley was ruined on the main roster.
Yep.
It was the point where they buried the Bayley character beyond recognition, because that segment made it look like she was an idiot, and they never let her recover from that. They never gave her shine back at the end of the segment. And in that feud, even, she ended up losing that feud to Alexa Bliss. So she looked like an idiot coming out of the whole scenario.
In a kendo stick on a pole match.
Oh, God. Where she
that Vince
wouldn't
Russo
even use
somehow.
the kendo stick.
Right.
She couldn't even win. Anyway, but this one, we have yet to see how much damage this will do to Lashley and Sami Zayn. Personally, I think they'll both pull out of this okay. Lashley, I think, is fairly easy to sell. He should be easy to sell, right? He's a big, monstrous looking dude who can legit work. All you have to just have him go out there and beat people up and leave. That's it. You know, his cocky heel character in TNA is a great example. Like that's how you do Bobby Lashley.
He's got the legit background and pedigree that you can tout, like Ziggler or
Right.
Gable or Angle or any of these guys. He's got that there, and instead of using that, we're doing this sisters.
I'm more worried about Sami Zayn, to be honest with you, because
That's a fair point.
He was more kind of on a tightrope at this point, and his heel character is supposed to be this kind of annoying guy, but this is like. We were talking earlier about Stephanie McMahon's heat. This is the sort of thing that gets you X-Pac heat, go away heat. Like, we just don't want to see you. Not we're entertained by you, but hate you.
Yeah.
We just don't want to. We'll turn off the TV instead of watch you. And I think Sami Zayn, he worked his ass off in this segment. He really did try. He was trying so hard to turn chicken shit into chicken salad, and all he got was chicken shit on top of a salad. But at the same time, like I think it's possible to pull him out of this, but I don't see this feud getting any better after this.
Yeah.
So
it makes me pine for the days of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in NXT and how amazing all of those feuds were.
Yeah, remember Sami Zayn in NXT, how great of a character he was? Those were the days. Anyway, so history will tell if this is the worst segment of the modern era or not. It's not Triple H banging a dead chick's brains out, but it's
oh god,
it's up there. Another segment that was pretty cringeworthy was Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax had a contract signing with Stephanie McMahon presiding, and the second that I saw that setup, I just immediately kind of curled back in the couch and was like, "Oh God, please, please don't suck."
It did.
It sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked. There were aspects of it that I thought worked, and there was most of it that did not work for me. I thought Stephanie played her character well, with she's kind of stir the shit with both of them, saying, "Oh, this is why she doesn't like you. This is why she doesn't like you. Go for it, ladies. Beat each other up." And they did actually. This segment was basically to turn Nia into the heel of the angle. Nia admitting that she wants to make a name by beating Ronda Rousey. That's why she challenged her. But that's really the only purpose of this segment. And the fact that it didn't end with physicality, just ended with a stare down, was disappointing. And the fact that they did actually call out the controversy about the fact that Ronda Rousey is jumping the entire roster to get into this championship match so soon, calling it out and not really giving a good explanation for it. Just kind of like, yeah, well, that's just how it works.
No, it doesn't. No, it isn't.
Well, but it is. That's the thing.
Well, I like the
There's no
anomaly
apologies.
I like the anomaly of Stephanie being here to preside over this because it gives you that, screw you, I can do whatever I want kind of thing that she is known for.
And I did like to talk to that. I did like the way that they referenced Ronda and her recent history.
Yes.
Just the brief Ronda going, how's your arm, Steph? And Steph going, it's great. It's great. I forgive everybody for everything. See, I'm a good leader. I like that.
As much as I really don't like Nia, as much as I really don't like the whole bullying angle to begin with, and as much as I don't really have that much respect in the WWE yet for Ronda, I've been open about that.
Yeah.
I mean, the combination of these two has just compounded that exponentially. And this is where I want to come down on this. You have all of this amazing talent on this roster, and the two people you pick are one that hasn't even really had a legit clean women's match yet, and the one that is, from my perspective, hurting people.
Oh God.
This is not going to be a pretty match. There's no real reason to build for this. There's no anticipation for it. I could care less.
And I did like how in this segment they called out some of those things. How, Nia just had a match that went 15 minutes against little Alexa Bliss, like she couldn't even beat her.
Right.
They called out the fact that Ronda Rousey has not yet had a singles match, and her first singles match will be for the championship. They did reference all of that, and that did work for me. The fact that they almost kind of gave a nod to the criticisms of the angle, which means that in my head, I want to say that they're aware of it and they're still steering into it because they have a bigger purpose. There's something here that we might not be seeing. Obviously, it's a coin flip. It's WWE. I don't know if that's the case.
If this is a transitional thing to get Ronda and Alexa Bliss in the ring, you've got me.
Okay.
But
so possibly wait and see where this is going, is what I'm saying.
If this ends up with Ronda Rousey and Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam for the Raw Women's title, you've got my attention.
And I'll be shocked if Ronda wins this, because that would really be jumping the gun a lot. There's one thing that we agree on. I don't think this will be a pretty match. I don't. I like to hope that, much like the WrestleMania match, they'll rehearse it enough that it'll end up, feeling a bit sterile, but at the same time
well executed.
That's what I'm hoping for from this match. But
I think that's about the best we can hope for.
Basically, yeah. I'm looking at glass half full. What is it? Optimistically pessimistic,
optimistic,
skeptical, whatever. Let's speaking of looking at glass half full. Let's talk about my favorite segment of Raw this week. Let's talk about the good things. Let's be happy. Braun Strowman.
For a brief moment.
No, there was a couple of good things this week. It was not all doom and gloom. We're through the worst part of it. That was the worst of it. Okay. It's all uphill from here, mostly. Braun Strowman versus Finn Balor. This was great.
Yeah.
This was the kind of, what this match reminded me of is, and you hear this all the time, reminds me of when I was a kid watching wrestling. It did remind me of that, because it was two characters that I like, that I'm invested in, who they've got a reason to. They don't really have a reason to fight, but there's implications to this match. They're both going to be in the Money in the Bank match together.
There's stakes.
There's stakes to it, and it was two very well-defined characters having a match based around how those two characters would realistically have a match. Realistically, I use loosely.
Yep.
But you had Braun Strowman beating the absolute crap out of Finn Balor here, and Finn gamely fighting back the entire time. Braun not taking seriously at first, giving loose pins, pinning him with his foot, pinning him with one hand, that kind of thing. And then Finn continuously taking openings and putting big hits on Braun, to the point where at one point they're outside the ring and Finn ends up, tossing him over the barricade.
Well, Braun starts to do his run around the thing like he's been doing with Kevin Owens, and Finn reverses it into a sling blade on him.
He's doing it like he's been doing with Kevin Owens, and now with everybody else, like it's becoming a thing, is the freight train.
I'm okay with that.
Well, and we were first saying this should just be Kevin Owens, because only Kevin Owens can sell it well.
I didn't say that.
I think I might have.
You did.
I did. I was like, keep it to Kevin Owens. Don't make this a thing. I take it back.
I want it to be one of his signature things.
I think it's becoming that.
Yeah.
I think it's become that. He did it to Elias before this match at the top of the ramp.
Destroyed.
Did it to Drew McIntyre last week. It's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
But this, I like like you said, I like the fact he tried to do it to Finn, and Finn, being the smaller, smarter, faster, whatever you want to call it, wrestler, sling bladed him as a way to counter this new big move of Braun's. He kept finding ways to come back. And it, like I said, it was reminding me of like being a kid and like my two favorite wrestlers are fighting. Jake the Snake's fighting Macho Man Randy Savage. I want them both to win, but I want them both to look good too. Like one of them's got to lose, but I hope he looks good in defeat. And Finn lost, but he looked good in defeat.
Yes.
He did.
He was, you're not going to take down the monster, but you can certainly put up a good enough fight to get the old attaboy.
Yeah, and he did. And that's the aspect of this I want to talk about is the post-match, was that they did a good job of defining kind of where they're at creatively with both characters after the match, where Braun Strowman had the opportunity to do the I'm not finished with you and continue to power slam Finn Balor into the ground, but he didn't. He picked him up like he was going to and then put him gingerly in the corner and was kind of like, there you go, little buddy. Yeah. Go sit over there. I'm going to put my arms up and roar.
Yeah.
So, I like that. It defined Braun as being a full-on, he is full babyface now. He's full-on babyface, Braun. Finn is still like the upper mid-card, happy, smiley, like, go boy, you kind of, almost like what Sami Zayn could be. You know what I mean? Like the underdog who's got a lot of fight in him. That's kind of where Finn is at this point. And I'm not mad at that, really, as far as everything else on the main roster. Like, that's a good niche for him.
Yeah, I like that angle for him, and it's a good reference. The scrappy little chihuahua that'll constantly keep coming at you, versus the big, huge, whatever you call Braun Strowman. I don't even know there is a dog that size, but it's St. Bernard.
Mastiff.
Maybe. Mastiff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love, you guys know me, I love sportsmanship, so the idea of him sitting him over in the corner rather than continually power slamming him over and over again was fantastic. And, here I sit in my Braun Strowman t-shirt. It's obvious that I'm a mark for him, but at the same time, I appreciated this show of sportsmanship from Braun, and I think both of them walked away from this looking fantastic.
You're a mark for Braun Strowman. I'm wearing my own band's t-shirt. Isn't that that's like a huge fashion faux pas, isn't it?
I don't know.
I'm wearing a House of Rabbits t-shirt, and because it's my own band. Like, that's terrible. I should be banished to the court. Breezango's going to give me a ticket. So again, Money in the Bank, the implication to this match, who knows how this will pan out in Money in the Bank. It was entertaining. It was one of the best segments of Raw. And another segment that I thought was underrated was the match immediately before this one was Elias versus Bobby Roode. And this is a segment that I didn't like this feud when it started, and then I liked it, and then I didn't like it, and now I think I might be liking it again because I liked this match. It was kind of a nothing match, and Elias won clean, but because Bobby, I guess, tweaked his leg or something. Yeah. I don't know if this is going to go anywhere, but I don't know. I didn't mind this match. I don't think it meant anything.
No, well, there's no stakes involved, obviously.
Maybe it's because just by contrast to like Lashley and the Nia segment, I was like, oh, thank God, a match, and it's being worked well.
Actually, that might two big guys wrestling each other. Like, yes, okay, now we can watch TV again.
Yeah, no, it just felt like a match, and it was fine.
The best part of this entire thing, in my opinion, was after Elias wins, he's walking back up the ramp, hobbling back up the ramp gingerly, and Braun Strowman just comes out of Gorilla like a freight train and just levels him all the way across the stage. That was what I wanted to call out.
So nice, you got to talk about it twice.
Yes.
So now this is the thing. If you just watch Hulu, that was the Raw that you saw, right? Mostly made up of really cringe-inducing TV. And I really hope that everyone got to see the live version, the actual version of Raw, the 3-hour version, because there's a lot of other good stuff on there. We had Ember Moon had a great match against Alexa Bliss in which she won. She picked up the victory.
That's a big deal.
Which is a big deal. I mean, they're all about momentum in WWE. Well, that going to Money in the Bank, beating the ex-champ, that's a big momentum builder right there.
It makes my gears start turning for the Money in the Bank ladder match coming up in a few weeks.
I've got my speculations too, and it's got nothing to do with either of these women. But this was a good match. Baron Corbin versus No Way Jose. It was kind of nothing. It was just there. But at the same time, I would rather watch that any day than the Lashley segment. If we're talking about that.
We mentioned Facebook earlier. There was an idea that was brought up on Facebook that I thought was fun. No Way Jose versus Baron Corbin in a hair match. Now that would be fun. What the loser has to shave their head. So who would better, let's just fantasy book, who would come out better with a bald head?
I don't even know.
No Way Jose or Baron Corbin?
Well, I think you'd have
to wait 5 years and say Baron Corbin.
That's what I'm saying. You shave No Way Jose's head because Baron Corbin's going to be bald in a year anyway. So
Are we ever going to see anything like a hair? I mean, obviously we're seeing kendo on a stick matches and kendo stick on a pole matches. And
what was the meme that they posted in the Busted Wide Open Facebook group a week or so ago?
It was Venom, the symbiote.
Baron Corbin's like doing like a half sit up off the mat, and his hair looked like a symbiote was climbing onto his head.
Yeah.
Anyway, another match that was not on Hulu. Dolph Ziggler had a great promo backstage with Chad Gable, and Chad Gable and he had a match that was a great match, very fast, and Gable got beaten down afterwards by both Ziggler and McIntyre. I want to actually talk at this point. In the notes, I initially had it later. I'm gonna jump the gun here because it's Chad Gable. The rumor is Jason Jordan will be backstage at Raw next week.
Okay.
And Chad Gable just had a feud with one half of a current tag team. Will Jason Jordan come back as a face and reform American Alpha? That is my question.
I don't know. I don't know.
Should he, I should say.
I want to say no because I want to hold out hope that there's bigger plans for Chad Gable, but those are starting to dwindle. I'm starting to lose faith in the WWE's ability to properly book Chad Gable as he should be.
Your rose-colored sunglasses are falling off your face here?
He's another young Kurt Angle in the late 90s coming up as a proper wrestler and athlete in that sense. And there's all kinds of upside to Chad Gable, but you have to book him properly. You have to get him into this stuff. He can't lose to Ziggler.
I think commentary has even said if he was 2 or 3 inches taller, they would push him as the new Kurt Angle. I think his height's literally the only thing that's holding him back.
His strength is extremely deceptive. He can work really, really well. He's got flyer and moonsault ability. He has all of the boxes
You just
checked.
described the entire cruiserweight division.
Sure. So, are you thinking he's going to cruiserweights?
I don't know if he's going to cruiserweight. Like I said, I think they might. I could see them reforming American Alpha. I don't know if Jordan's going to go back into the position he was in before as Kurt Angle's son at or near the top of the card and bouncing around there because it is so full up there. It really is full at the top of the card. I think that would be a good way to help a faltering tag team division would be to have another team like that reforming. The excitement that would happen with the return of American Alpha, although I know a lot of people would be kind of rolling their eyes about it because it would mean that everything else that happened in the meantime was an experiment that failed. Is essentially what it would come across.
I could see it be another sort of Shield reunion like we had last year, where Chad's
no more of that.
Hang on, Chad's getting beaten down by McIntyre and Ziggler, and Jordan comes running out to interfere and save him. Maybe it's not a full reunion, but it's kind of a moment.
Oh, I see. You're saying like the Dean Ambrose Seth part of the Shield reunion, right, the only good part of that whole debacle,
right?
Yes,
I can see it turning into something like that. Maybe not going on to full tag championship status like they were with American Alpha, but it's as besties running in to help each other every now and then.
Yeah,
I could see that.
I think if they're not American Alpha, keep them separate. Keep Jason Jordan heel. That's my preference, but we'll see.
We'll see.
That being said, a couple more last things we need to talk about on Raw. The B team, the former Miz Taraj, defeated Breezango again. And the best part of their segments has become their ridiculous celebrations afterwards, including like riding the chair down the ramp and jumping in each other's arms. That is becoming their thing. And I wonder where they're going to go with this because it is very over and the audience gets into it for a really undercard match. Like they're very over. So very curious to see where that gets pushed to in the next few weeks. And then lastly, it has been announced next week there will be a 6-woman last chance gauntlet match
for what?
For the last space in the women's Money in the Bank match.
The latter. Okay. So after I watched SmackDown this week, I did see that they still had one spot left. So one of these 7 women are going to be the last.
Yeah, we should mention we skipped this particular segment on Raw because it was forgettable. Yep. But there was a fatal 4-way match which Natalya won. Yep. So she now gets put into the Money in the Bank match. She defeated Sarah Logan, Liv Morgan, and Dana Brooke. Like I said, a nothing match.
Right.
So Natalya's in. So there's one space left for Money in the Bank, for the women's Money in the Bank, and that's going to be between Ruby Riott, Sasha Banks, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Bayley, Mickie James, or Dana Brooke. Of those 6, who do you think's going?
Is it 6 or 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7. So who's going to the Money in the Bank match? I'm going to say Ruby Riott.
You know what? That would have been mine too. I think Sasha and Bayley cancel each other out. I don't think they pick one of Liv or Sarah. I think if they go with anyone from the Riot Squad, it's going to be the leader and Mickey and Dana. Mickey, maybe.
I could see a Liv Morgan maybe. I'll go Ribby Riot with a Liv Morgan maybe.
Oh, yes, because you like Liv Morgan.
Yeah, that's true. I do.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for Monday Night Raw. That means we need to go over and talk about SmackDown Live.
Well, to kick things off on SmackDown Live, we've got to talk about what is my match of the week this week.
Oh, on all of WWE programming.
All of yes. I'm going to go yes. I had to think about that for a second.
Okay.
Yes. Because reasons. And because reasons of a storied legacy of two, I guess you could call them legends at this point.
Absolutely.
The careers between Daniel Bryan and Jeff Hardy, and the first time we're getting to see these two guys in a match after both of their storied careers, going all the way back to the late 90s with the Hardy Boys and Daniel Bryan in the 2000s and all of that stuff as Bryan Danielson, right? Finally got to see these two guys face off in a WWE ring.
I think in a ring, I don't know if they've ever faced each other.
I don't
know how they would have missed each other after all this time.
I agree.
Crazy.
I think that was the big deal, and kind of the novelty outweighed whatever went on during the match, but it was a really good match, and I'm hoping that it was foreshadowing for more things to come from these two guys, because I would love to see these two guys just continue to have, but they're both just too facey over at this point.
Yeah.
Unless one of them flips, we're probably not going to see that, but man, this is me in a ring right here, just watching this kind of wrestling.
It was interesting to see how they worked the match to deal with the fact that Jeff isn't a young man anymore, and Daniel's having to obviously do the WWE style still.
Yep.
So, but it was still, it was very entertaining. I liked this match a lot. The real thing for me that I liked about it, besides the fact that Daniel Bryan, I mean, how did that guy go for 3 years not wrestling and come back with no ring rust is what I want to know.
No kidding.
Freak. Here's the part that I like. Samoa Joe.
Yes.
Was on commentary for this match. And first of all, that guy is smooth as silk in the commentator's chair. If something horrible happens to him and he loses a leg and he can never wrestle again.
Don't put that voodoo on, Joe.
That's true. Good point. Knock on wood. He's got a future in commentary. The guy is just an amazing talker. And just his look, everything. He is going at 110% right now. And I cannot wait for Joe versus Daniel Bryan next week. We were supposed to get Big Cass getting sacrificed to Joe this week, but apparently at a house show, no one knows if this is a work or not. Apparently Big Cass is injured.
Tore his knee up again?
Well, this is the question. There's speculations that it's legit because it looked like they had a program going for him this week. And the fact that they didn't really, I mean, they're retroactively saying the injury happened because of the heel hook Daniel Bryan put on him last week. But obviously that wasn't the case. He apparently got it at a house show in the middle of the week.
Huh. Okay.
At least that was where people first noticed him selling it. So that, we don't know if this is a legit injury or not. If it is, supposedly he's quote unquote getting his ACL checked out this week. If it's a legit injury, if it's a minor injury, okay, maybe he can get back on track. But, between the possible heat he's got backstage and this injury, if it's a big injury, the dude is screwed. If he's out for another 6 to 9 months,
he's done.
He's toast.
The reason I spent so much time at the beginning of this segment building the legacy around Jeff Hardy and Daniel Bryan is because they've never been in a ring together. The opposite of that is Bryan Danielson and Samoa Joe have a storied history of ring time together, and I cannot wait for these two to see what these two do in a WWE ring together because it is going to be magic.
Well, it's going to be magic through a WWE lens, and this is the one thing that I always kind of caution people when you've got these outside of WWE feuds that everyone remembers very fondly.
Yep.
You're remembering it in a different environment, and WWE has a very specific product it's trying to present, and they're not going to do the things that they do in these other environments. We're not going to get a Ring of Honor match from these two in WWE. We're not, but that being said, could we still get an entertaining match that is amazing to watch? Sure, we could.
Yes, we are.
We could. Just temper your expectations is all I'm saying.
I'm not. I can't. I just can't. Not with these two. Not with these two, because I know they're both going to work, and this is going to be incredible.
Yeah, no,
and frankly, I'm surprised we're getting it this with outside of a pay-per-view. This is that kind of a match for me.
Yeah, I think again they're just so stacked on SmackDown Live. They can bounce a lot of these guys together outside. Like again, you had Jeff Hardy and Daniel Bryan outside of a pay-per-view. Like they're gonna have a lot of dream matches going on SmackDown Live. It's funny. It's almost like Fox was watching the same shows we were.
Maybe they watched the Superstar Shake-Up and watched them trim all the fat over to Monday Night Raw. No, we don't want Raw anymore. We want SmackDown Live.
It makes Fox look a lot more savvy as business people. It's like, do we get the Lashley sisters or do we get Daniel Bryan versus Jeff Hardy? Which one do we pay $1 billion for? I don't know.
Exactly.
Do we play for the show with AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Samoa Joe, and Nakamura on it, and Jeff Hardy? Or do we pay for the show with Roman Reigns and Jinder Mahal at the top of the card?
And a champion that doesn't show up.
And a non-existent champion they're paying way too much for to show up 3 times a year. Anyway, we digress. Another segment that was, I thought had its ups and downs, but overall I liked. AJ Styles confronted Shinsuke Nakamura over what the stipulation was going to be for their match at Money in the Bank. So on this show, on the Busted Wide Open Facebook discussion group, we've had a lot of time spent on what should be the next stipulation in the match. I was saying it should be an I Quit. We had people on there saying it could be Hell in a Cell.
Cage or a cell, yeah.
A street fight. We had a lot of people throwing in there. One of the points I made in that discussion was it would be silly to have a last man standing match because essentially that's kind of what the last match was. You can have a double count out in a last man standing match. If they both don't answer the 10 count, the match ends in a draw. We just saw that. If they make the stipulation in this that one guy has to be standing at the end of this, there cannot be a double count out. Now you have my attention.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that is a proper evolution of this feud. And you could then move forward into a cage match. I Quit, Hell in a Cell, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I do hope that Last Man Standing is not the be all end all of this feud and we end it there. Because to me, that it feels a little underwhelming at that point if they were to end it at this, unless they put on an absolute barn burner and make me eat my words, which so far, I hate to say it, this feud has not really blown me away.
They haven't kicked it into 5th gear yet. And that's one of the reasons that I've been saying all along. I think this is going to run for a long time. This is not the last match we're going to see. Hell, this could go all the way to October with Hell in a Cell.
No, it cannot. It's not going to go to October.
Jinder Randy ran almost the whole year last year, and they can't run Nakamura.
Barely 3 months by the time. Like I'm just saying, like this is not going to run that long, and I don't think that the casual audience would have the patience for it either with the product they're being given. We have the.
I would, but I don't consider myself the casual.
You're
audience.
not because you appreciate who Nakamura and Styles are outside of WWE. If you were just given this feud within the confines of WWE, and that's all you knew about either guy, you'd probably already be bored by this.
Yeah.
And that actually shows in the ratings. It's one of the lowest rated Smackdowns they've had.
Really?
The ratings were down this week.
Oh, man.
So it's not
Maybe
setting the world on fire.
They watched Raw and didn't even bother. I'm just saying.
Anyway, yeah. So we'll see if this feud concludes in their last man standing match, or as Nakamura said as he stood on the table after beating up AJ Styles, last because he choked on his mouth guard there.
Yeah, it almost spit it out like a grandma's dentures.
It was totally a dentures move.
Yeah,
it was totally a dentures move. Oh man. That being said, I did like the physicality when everything broke down and they started beating each other up and
went out into the crowd and all kinds of good stuff going on here.
Shinsuke delivered a mother of a Kinshasa to AJ on the floor outside the ring for the 10 count where he faked the 10 count and then got on the table and screamed last man standing. Good stuff. Overall, even though couple little slip ups,
this can go as long as it wants to, in my opinion. I this is what I want to see.
Yeah, I'm not getting sick of this yet. I wish it was better because I know that if you're not as invested as I am in these guys,
bored.
I'm getting bored. Yeah. I get that. The show started. We got to go back to the beginning of SmackDown and talk about the opening segment, Miz TV, where he interviewed the New Day and tried to suss out which member of the New Day he would be facing in the Money in the Bank ladder match, to very little to no avail. He basically got a bunch of pancakes thrown at him for his efforts.
Shame.
Oh, that was good.
That was pretty good. Little Game of Thrones reference there
good.
for you.
There was a lot of good little references in this. So I watched Raw and SmackDown back to back.
Okay.
And I have to say, this was a tonic for everything that went down on Raw. Right away, I had a segment that it's not going to win any awards. Very average segment for like a week-to-week basis. But my God, it was head and shoulders above the segments on Raw. It was funny. It was fun. You had a bunch of guys who are charismatic, who can come up with stuff in the middle of the ring, go off the cuff. It was just lighthearted entertainment. It was sports entertainment, and I was sports entertained.
And they did a great job of highlighting each of the factors of why each of the three members of the New Day, they took their time with this. They went through all of it, and I loved it. This is what I've always wanted Miz TV to be, and what it has really gotten popular with me, at least, is they take their time with this, and they go through the necessary motions to build up each of the superstars, because that's what this is for. It's to get these superstars known and over, and it's a quick little segment to let you know about the backgrounds of all of these guys.
Well, more than anything, it's when Miz TV is at its best, it's done with a purpose. It's not just, hey, let me call somebody out and make fun of them, and then a fight starts.
Right.
It's something here where he has a reason to have them out. There's going to be a discussion between Miz and whoever is in the ring with him, and there's a purpose behind it beyond just, I'm going to kick your butt. Even though this did devolve into Miz saying, I can beat any member of the New Day one-on-one on any day, and then getting sent back out by Paige to fight one of the members of New Day, which turned out to be Big E. Whoops. Although Miz did pick up the win because the Bar interfered. And then next week we're getting a Miz in the Bar versus all three members of the New Day, which I'm in. I put the Bar with Miz, and I'm happy because we've seen on Raw they play well together.
Yes.
But again, this segment was great. This whole bit from the Miz TV, Xavier Woods Naruto reference, calling him Hokage Miz, which I'd come on, man, my anime nerd is coming out. I love that.
All he needed was like a little bit more spiked hair. Like if he had a little bit more longer spiked hair.
It was spot on.
That robe was fantastic.
Spot on. But it was great. Xavier Woods, another guy with a future in commentary, when he was sitting at the desk talking during the match between Big E and The Miz. I mean, the guy can just talk. It's great. He's got a great mouth for it, great mind for it. To go back really quickly before we move on.
Okay.
Something you said about highlighting why each member of New Day could or should be in Money in the Bank.
Okay.
What we were talking about last week is who will be chosen, who do we think will be chosen, why should they be chosen, and me worried that they wouldn't call out the fact that Kofi, they've historically said, the other members of New Day have said, look at Kofi's legacy. We want to have him win the big one. And that was called out a lot in this segment is Kofi's got the history. Kofi's got the legacy that we have to look at here. Big E potentially has the big breakout singles career, and Xavier Woods is Xavier Woods.
Right.
He's a star in his own right in other media. So that's a lot of things to consider with each member of New Day, and they gave us all of that information. Fantastic job.
Have you noticed that Lana has been getting a lot of attention recently?
Recently? When did she not get attention?
Well, there was a period between like where she attempted to be a wrestler last fall and the whole Rusev Day movement, and now she's back. And they're trying to bring her back as a part of Rusev Day, as a part of the faction, which I'm on board with. I think it's going to make for some interesting story. This week we saw her come out to have a match against Billie Kay of the Iconics, introduced by Aiden English. Yeah. I did not see this coming.
Well, now Rusev Day is a faction. Yes. It's no longer just Rusev with Aiden. It's now Aiden's the hype guy for the faction. And so I'm of two minds about it. I love it. I'm all yes, brilliant. Do that. But
don't mess it up.
No, not even. No, I'd say it's already messed up because they've already shown us that Rusev is a heel and it is a heel faction. But yet this week they came out and made Aiden work overtime to try and make it a face faction. It's like you guys just spent the last 3 or 4 months basically pushing down the Rusev Day chants and making people not want to chant it because they're heels and it's hard to chant for the heels against the top faces.
Yeah.
The most over faces, and you're putting Rusev in as the heel who's here to rain on your parade. And so it's hard. So you've divided the crowd as far as Rusev Day. Like, should we chant for them? And then all of a sudden, boom. Yes. Oh, hey, now we're faces. Okay, chant for us. Aiden had to hold up a sign basically saying chant for Lana, Lana Day. So it was really, I don't know. I thought it was a dramatic shift. Now, if over the next few weeks, this continues and Rusev is facing heels and he's a face and the whole faction is face now.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. This was the flashpoint and now we're going to go face from here on out. unless they have some sort of breakup angle, which I think is, I would hate that at this point where they finally seem to have found the dynamic of Aiden is the hype man who can wrestle. Lana cannot really wrestle, but she's game. You know what I mean? She's plucky as she was in this match.
I think the idea that 6-8 months later they're putting her back in the ring is an indication that they might be putting her back into the women's division as a full-time wrestler. I
think so. They probably. It seems like they're done being mad at her for going off and marrying Rusev and breaking kayfabe on Instagram about it. Yeah. They were punishing her for a while with that, and even down to making her, debut as a wrestler a joke, where they basically buried her.
Yeah.
So it seems like that's over, and she beat Billie Kay completely clean.
Yes.
There was some nonsense outside the ring, and then they got back in and she hit her finisher, and that was it.
And now Lana is in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match.
Right. As I would say, probably filler, although if Rusev Day was holding the Money in the Bank briefcase, that would be pretty insane.
I think I sent you a text earlier this week saying, I could see this as being a thing, maybe to say, sorry about that whole Rusev Day thing, you guys go. And it just really puts that faction on the map.
But it's, I don't know. I wonder if it's
over as it is.
A little too little.
Be a lot of fun.
A little too late, man. They should have pulled the trigger at WrestleMania, if not before. But that being said, we will see what happens going forward. All I know is that I don't know what Lana did for the last couple of weeks. Last couple of weeks, she looked normal. I don't know what the heck their makeup team did to her this week, but she looked like an orange. They had a My Little Pony hair stuck on. Like it was. They started off her segment with her smiling into a mirror in one of two moments on SmackDown where women were smiling into the camera, and it absolutely terrified me because they did not look human.
Does this do anything for Billie Kay and the Iconics?
Nothing.
Is it just whatever?
No, they were just there. I don't think it hurts her really because there was a bit of distraction outside the ring. I don't think it matters to the Iconics at all. They stayed right where they were. I think that was my perception of how the segment worked out.
Yep.
We also have to talk about another match. The Good Brothers had a number one contenders match for the tag titles versus the Usos, and they beat them clean.
Welcome back, Gallows and Anderson. Hello.
Whoa. Beat them clean and fast, too. I mean, I don't know if they're trying to pump the brakes on the Usos after being so dominant for so long, or if I think what it is more is they're trying to get Gallows and Anderson to a point where they could be a believable threat to the Bludgeon Brothers.
Bingo. Because
they just got a match. Now they have a match with them at Money in the Bank. So I think they're trying to get the Good Brothers a little Remember when they were just the worst jobbers on Monday Night Raw? Like they just could not win a match.
Welcome to SmackDown Live.
With the land of opportunity.
Yes. I am all for this. I think I'm pretty clear on record that I'm big fans of the Good Brothers, of Gallows and Anderson. I think they have been just unfairly shunned their entire time on the main roster, and I think they are a legit they're one of they're the legit tag team that have been going around forever, and New Japan with AJ Styles and all of that stuff. So now we have a legit tag team going up and could potentially take those belts off the Bludgeon Brothers. I'd like to see them running around SmackDown Live with their comedy and their gimmicky kind of stuff, with the kind of ego with the titles as well. I'm all in.
Well, yeah, but they won't win. Here's the problem, Nick. They won't win the titles.
I don't know. I'm undecided right now.
They're going to get crushed. They are the sacrificial team. They are the Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable of the division now, where they're legit enough to get a title shot, but then they're going to get beaten down and put back into the mid card of the tag team division. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Here's the thing. Here's the thing: is that one thing that you hear about all the time on wrestling message boards and online and everywhere is, this person's underutilized. This person's underutilized. Here's the problem. It's a big roster. There's only so many titles. There's only so many people that can be utilized. And, to a lot of people's points, as some wrestlers who have left WWE will tell you, there are some people who just don't put in the effort. Cody actually said this week, is like, look, WWE's got a lot of people who fans think should be better than they are. And one of the reasons why they're not is they just don't care, and they just are coasting at this point. And there's only so many opportunities, and there's only so many matches, and there's only so many titles. You're not going to have all of the people that you want to be featured get featured. It's just not going to happen. The best you can hope for is for them to be presented well in the time that they have. And that's the least I hope for. This week, the Good Brothers got presented pretty well in the time that they had. There was an opening on SmackDown Live for them to go in. They were given the opportunity to go get the number one contenderships, and now they're going to have a title match at Money in the Bank. They're getting some shine. They're getting some looks. Will they be used well? I hope so. But I have the feeling this is just going to be a way to fill some time and get the Bludgeon Brothers a nice long reign at the top of the tag team division.
Yes, but on a clipboard of check boxes of what you want in a tag team, they check every single box, including the ones that the Bludgeon Brothers do not. And I want, this is the kind of tag team that I'd like to see.
But I'd argue that's presentation. That's just a matter of how they've been presented by TV. The Bludgeon Brothers could tick the box. If they wanted to do comedy with the Bludgeon Brothers, they could. The Usos can do comedy. The Usos tick every box and then some.
Sure.
So does New Day. Like, they've got no shortage of talent. That's kind of what I'm saying, is that really it just comes down to, do you present them in a way that allows them to tick the boxes that they can because they're that talented? Kind of like the match we had this week with Naomi versus Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville has not had a lot of time to get in there and show off her ring skills.
Yep.
Naomi has had a while since she's really gotten in there and shown her ring skills. Now, Naomi's not, I don't think, the best storyteller in the ring.
Right.
She's basically a spot monkey. She'll go around and do a bunch of very athletic spots that look great. If she meshes well with her opponent, you can have a really good-looking match. And that's what this was. This was a really good-looking match where both ladies worked really well together. And although you didn't really have a good ebb and flow to the match, there wasn't really a good through line story-wise, it was entertaining. It was fun to watch. And at the end of the day, I thought it was just a great piece to have in this week's SmackDown Live. And I thought it made Sonya look pretty good, even though she did lose.
Yeah, and Naomi does go forward to be in the Money in the Bank women's ladder match.
Correct. And
so that's going to be interesting as well.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, the one caveat, is I said last week that Sonya works better when she can get out there and look like she fights MMA, and the more of a wrestler, like a sports entertainer her opponent is, the worse she looks. This was the exception to the rule. I think Naomi is the definition of a sports entertainment wrestler. But somehow it still worked with Sonya.
Yeah.
They had a good chemistry out there. So no, I was happy with this match.
And the last thing that happened on SmackDown Live that we need to talk about was Andrade Cien Almas came out with Zelina Vega and murdered a 12-year-old kid. That was really the extent of it.
He beat this boy into puberty, is what he did. This poor guy. It's not. I mean, here's the thing. He's actually a fairly well-known Canadian wrestler. He wrestles in Smash Wrestling. Guy's name is Kevin Bennett. Like, he's actually a legit wrestler. The thing about this segment, I mentioned earlier about women staring into the camera and scaring the crap out of me. If you could get a freeze frame, I'm going to put it up on the discussion group at some point. The freeze frame of Zelina Vega's face at the beginning of their promo before this match is the most terrifying, demonic thing I've ever seen.
Oh, that's not nice.
Dude, I just telling you, it's nothing to do with, like, she looks
is a beautiful woman.
She is, unless she smiles satanically into the camera.
Oh, come on. Oh, man.
I'm gonna get this freeze frame for you. She stares into your soul. It's terrifying.
I let her.
All right. Well, anyway, that's it. So Andrade Cien Almas, still looking strong. I'm very excited to see where he ends up. Speaking of dream matches, this guy versus anyone at the top of the card is a dream match to me because he's fantastic. And I love him, and I love him in Vega. So, yes, very excited. He's going to be going somewhere. I hope Sanity shows up at some point, is all I'm going to say.
That was going to be my kind of closeout question here, was where are they? We didn't really see AOP on Raw this week either. These tag call-ups, I want to start seeing these because we're missing out on some good stuff.
I hope that the plan with Sanity is to have them get involved in the match at Money in the Bank.
The ladder match?
No, the tag match.
Oh, that
they
could
come
be
out.
good.
They come out and cause
Chaos.
chaos. Yes, that would be lovely.
Well, guys, that wraps up the main roster WWE programming segments of the show this week, but we've still got some more to go over.
We got a lot to go over
in the wide world of wrestling.
Well, first things first, we're going to head over and talk about NXT this week. We started off NXT with a match I know you were excited for. It started with Heavy Machinery coming out at the top of the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Here's Tucky. And they faced off against TM61, who recently have gone a bit heel. They've been cheating to win. They put their feet on the ropes to try and beat Street Profits.
They did beat second time.
But here they go again. They put their feet on the ropes and beat Heavy Machinery this week. You boys went down to TM61.
Come on, Tucky!
After a very entertaining match. And I think here's the question is, where does their feud settle? Do they keep cheating to beat a whole bunch of teams, Or do they continue with Heavy Machinery? Does this come back to Street Profits? Where do they go next?
I don't know, because there's really been no interaction. We had the match with Pete Dunne and Birch and Lorcan last week with the Undisputed Era for, that wasn't even really a championship match, I don't think, was it?
It was setting up it set up championship matches that set up the fact that Birch and Lorcan will challenge for the NXT tag titles in Chicago.
But we have all of these other legit tag teams that are over here kind of swimming around in this maelstrom of tag stuff. But now somehow we've got Birch and Lorcan. I'm going to just start calling them Lurch.
Lurch and Borkin.
Over here, now they're going to get a tag title opportunity. So that's what I'm curious about is Street Profits, Heavy Machinery, TM61. Where is their...
That's
they've
great.
Been over here.
No, this is the way it should be. With something the size of NXT is you've got the top tier, which is the people that are going for the championship. And right now it's Birch and Lorcan and Undisputed Era. Cool. Keep it clean. Just those two teams. Right. We've narrowed that down. Then below that, you have the next tier, which is all the teams vying to be the next big team after that. And so everyone's, figuring this out. And depending on what we see on TV, that gives us an indication of who is kind of next in line. And right now, TM61 on this winning streak looks to be the next kind of squirrely heels in line. I have a feeling that at some point they'll get brought low by a face team, which will then go on to face Undisputed Era in the future at some point. That's my suspicion. Okay. But at this point, it's going to be a story. The story we're being told is twofold in the tag division. The top of the tier, which is Birch and Lorcan, Undisputed Era. And the next tier down is the tag teams getting beaten by TM61 through cheating. Those are the stories we're getting in the tag division, and right now, I'm not mad at it.
I'm not either. I can't completely see the belts getting put on Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan.
It's because it's not going to happen.
I agree it's not going to happen, but the believability of them facing Undisputed Era instead of a TM61 or a Heavy Machinery or a Street Profits, etc., I want tag teams to face tag teams. I don't buy Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan as a tag team.
What? They had a great story. The build up where they had the matches against each other, and then they.
I know.
Oh, that's a great. What are you? Come on, Nick. Come on.
Everybody knows Heavy Machinery deserves that number one contender spot.
All right, the Mr. Markman over there is going to take over. We got to move on and talk about the next match. Kairi Sane versus Lacey Evans. Someone else you're big on, Lacey Evans.
Yes.
And she showed why. This was another fantastic match. These girls beat the crap out of each other.
Strap the rocket boosters onto Lacey Evans. She's going far.
Well,
she finally found her character and her gimmick, and they're finally giving her time. And I think this is the third week in a row she's had a match. Two of them were with Kairi Sane, the winner of the Mae Young Classic last year.
And this is the best one.
Oh, yeah. So watch out for Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans. Excuse me, Lacey. I deeply apologize. You are anything but lazy.
I'll let you sit in that. But no, this was definitely anything but a lazy match. Kairi was flying all over the place. We did get some great fire from her in this match. We haven't seen a lot.
Welcome back, Hojo.
Seriously, welcome back some Stardom wrestling here.
Yes.
This was just fast and hard hitting, and ended with a great sequence where Kairi goes up for the big elbow. It looks like the big elbow, maybe some sort of top rope spot.
Yep.
And Lacey Evans with her new finisher, the woman's right, this big right hand, clocks her coming down and gets the 1, 2, 3. And I was totally fine with it. Like I if you told me last week Lacey Evans beats Kairi clean, I would have said, what? After watching this match, yeah, cool. And I hope this continues. They actually mentioned in the commentary, it's 1-1 now. And hopefully we'll get a rubber match
next week.
I'm down. I would even not mind if this ran all the way to Chicago. Yeah. I could see this being the show that they do before TakeOver, and then they get show the week after TakeOver. Do you know what I mean? Where they finish the feud kind of early in the show. Yeah, I'm all kinds of down. So Bianca Belair had a little quick segment, like a tease of a segment next week. I think we're finally going to see Bianca Belair get shot to the moon, or at least they're finally going to really go with it. That we've seen a lot of her, and they've almost done it. Trigger's going to get pulled next week. We are finally getting the get to know Bianca Belair segment. In our Facebook discussion group, Derek Gator Guy McCrae wanted to know if it will be anything like the Lashley segment. To which I said, "Dear God, I hope not." In addition, that's just not how NXT does things.
No.
You know what I mean? The Lashley segment with his interview with Renee.
Well, I want to qualify that real quick before you go on.
Okay.
There was a portion of the Lashley segment where they did a video package about his background and his amateur wrestling and his army and stuff like that. That was legit as hell, and I loved it. And I hope they do something like that for Bianca Belair. I think what Derek is referring to is the sisters bit with the interview portion of that. So I really enjoyed the video package that they did for Lashley before the interview. I hope they do something like that for Bianca Belair as well.
Literally took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say is in that Lashley segment, they had the video package. That part is what I could see NXT doing, where you got that brilliant production team that WWE has putting together the video vignettes and segments. Those are the guys you want doing your bits. Not having an awkward sit-down promo like they did with Lashley. I have a feeling that if they do that, first of all, Bianca will be able to pull it off more if they do have a sit-down interview segment. But it looked like they had a lot of footage of her back in the day.
It looked like she played a lot of sports, some basketball, some track and field. There was a lot of pictures with trophies in high school and collegiate athletics and things like
big,
that.
Heavy things.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think that's what it'll be. It'll be more of a legitimate production and less of a cringeworthy snooze fest as we had with Lashley. And we definitely are not going to see Bianca's three brothers in the ring getting beat up by, I don't know, Shayna Baszler. It's not going to happen. Velveteen Dream and Ricochet team up in a 2-on-1 handicap match against Lars Sullivan this week. Oh, we were hyped for this.
Oh, man. That new silhouette thing they're doing to intro Lars is fantastic.
Yeah, and
Ricochet, for that matter,
Ricochet's entrance is great. Velveteen obviously has a great entrance. All of these guys they're the total package at this point. As far as I'm concerned, these guys are all ready to go already.
Yeah. By the way, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but with season 4 of Lucha Underground coming, I'm going back and rewatching season 1, 2, and 3, which is available on Netflix. So go watch it if you haven't.
1 and 2 are.
All 3 are.
All three are?
All 3 seasons are on Netflix.
Ooh.
So I don't want spoiler alert. Ricochet is Prince Puma in Lucha Underground, in case you didn't know, and you will get to see some of the magic, especially in season 1 of Prince Puma, aka Ricochet, and some of the stuff that he is bringing to NXT
in all 3 seasons, dude. Like,
yeah.
I know you're catching up, but let me tell you, there's a reason that I'm a huge mark for Ricochet, and one of the main reasons is not only his work in the Super Juniors in Japan, but also because of Lucha Underground. The guy is a freak, and this was a freakish match where it was just tons of spots, them trying to cut down the monster, really well paced, and at the end, Velveteen betrays Ricochet and leaves him to have his bones picked.
I don't know. There was a little spot that nobody called out that Ricochet, where Velveteen Dream went up on the ropes and Ricochet wiggled the ropes, and I think that was what Velveteen Dream was trying to call out, was say, you betrayed me.
You screwed me.
After he did the Death Valley Driver on him.
Well, whatever it was, Velveteen was definitely the one
Things
that
fell apart.
very aggressively left Ricochet in the ring.
It's one thing to punch somebody. It's another thing to put him in a Death Valley Driver.
Well, here's the thing. They didn't really explain what this match was for, if this was for the number 1 contendership for the title, or if this is for the opportunity at the number 1 contendership, or what it was. But Lars won.
Yes.
So we could be seeing Lars Sullivan, Aleister Black in Chicago. We could be seeing, I think we're definitely going to see Ricochet and Velveteen feud going forward. That seems to be the case here. But where Lars falls, we have yet to see.
I'm concerned. I'm not concerned. I'm wondering. I'm curious is what the word I wanted to use. Whether he's going after the NXT Championship, or maybe he's one of Adam Cole's first opponents for the North American Championship, because he was in that match and very involved in that build.
And you have a good point there, because he did say anyone wearing gold, you're in the path of destruction.
Yep.
So he could be. He could swerve us and go for the North American one.
And we've got 2 to 3 weeks to book. I'm assuming at this point that Adam Cole's going to defend the North American Championship at the next TakeOver event, which is in Chicago during the weekend of Money in the Bank. So are we going to get Adam Cole defending the North American Championship? Because we haven't seen any build or any contendership.
I hope so, but they don't need to. I think that Adam Cole should have the belt for a while, and he's going to be the kind of guy, the character that will just weasel out of matches, and they've got enough other things going on. They don't need to have that match. One match we will get next week is Dakota Kai facing off against Shayna Baszler and trying to overcome her fear of the big bully.
And this is a title match, is it not?
It is a title match. I have a feeling it will be Dakota Kai getting her ass beat again.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I'm starting to see kind of like almost like a Bayley-ish character they're doing with Dakota Kai, the underdog, the kind of wimpy underdog who's finding herself. I think she's doing well playing into that. Baszler's a good foil for that. So looking forward to seeing where they're going with this whole angle. And with, I think, as we've said many times, the greatest feud currently in WWE, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, which was the final segment of this week's NXT. Johnny Gargano coming out in a neck brace with his wife and Candice LeRae, and being in the ring and teasing a retirement, saying, I had to think about my family, I have to think about my future. The toll this is taking on my body, it might be too much.
And mid-speech, it changes his mind.
Yes. Well, between Ciampa, the audience cheering for him and him just getting fired up, and he tears off the neck brace and goes, Ciampa, I know you're in the back. Come out and face me. Rah, 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 rah. Great old school wrestling promo and build.
And the gentle wife saying, don't do it.
Don't do it. Think of your future, Johnny.
Think of your fans.
Think of your family. And then, of course, Tommaso Ciampa comes down and gets in the ring. All kinds of refs come out, try to separate them. Johnny tries to get in the ring, break through everything, but gets knocked off by Ciampa and falls into Candice LeRae, who bumps her head on the ramp. And at the end of the show, we're left with Johnny and the refs screaming for help. Someone please come out and help poor Candice LeRae, who has now been injured by that bald bastard.
This son of a bitch.
Oh, Tommaso Ciampa, you dirty dog.
So now we've got the emotion is back. The stakes are back.
It never left.
I know, but it's just now it's
ramped
like,
up.
You hurt my wife, you son of a bitch. Like, oh, God.
He hurt Candice now.
Poor
It's just,
Candice.
dude, they're just when I think they can't add any more fuel to the fire, they do. This is, we said it was going to be the best feud of the year, and so far,
money.
delivering. Can't wait. I have a feeling we're going to get a match at Chicago.
Yeah.
I just wonder what it's going to be.
Oh, yeah.
And if there's going to be anything left afterwards. Moving on over, let's talk about 205 Live really quickly. Not a huge week this week. I think next week's going to be the big week. Next week we do have Alexander versus Murphy. I don't know why they're not waiting for a pay-per-view for that.
Right?
I don't know why we're just getting it on TV. I think there's got to be some sort of swerve at some point in this match. I can't imagine the title changing hands randomly, but it might happen. I don't know. That's next week. This week we had Drew Gulak versus Grand Metalik with the Brian Kendrick and Jack Gallagher on commentary, which frankly, I thought it was a fine match, but the commentary definitely made it. Having them just throw all kinds of funny references out there and talk smack to both Metalik and Gulak was great.
They thought the first album of Grand Metallica was fantastic.
Exactly.
Little digs like that.
Great little lines.
Yeah,
it was fun and a fine match. But I just don't know where Gulak's going at this. But Drew Gulak is going at this point. We also had a squash match. TJP came out and squashed Christopher Guy, who looks familiar. I want to say he's been squashed recently.
Maybe
he looks familiar.
Was he that 12-year-old that almost beat up?
No, he was not. It would be a little bit ago.
The same show, right?
I'm trying to think who it was that beat him up. It was Strowman or who it was beat him up, but he looks familiar. This seems to be an angle where TJP is now dissatisfied with 205 Live. And in the back, we had Drake Maverick talking about how TJP has been tweeting out that he's not happy with 205 Live and that he's getting disrespected by management. This is an authority angle I can get behind because it's a heel who doesn't really, he's basically making up reasons why he's basically whining, as you just said.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's interesting. And it makes me curious what kind of hurdles he's going to jump through because of Drake Maverick and what kind of actions he's going to take.
Especially since Drake Maverick joined earlier this year and has basically, it's all on him for making the Cruiserweight division the glory that it is today, right, over the last 6 months. So now, all of a sudden, to have TJP turn on, I guess what you would say, a face GM, who is very popular.
Absolutely a face GM.
Yeah, so now, all of a sudden, this is a great authority commentary where we're used to having it more of a Healy GM kind of angle, having a corporate angle like that.
If William Regal is Dr. Evil, then Drake Maverick is absolutely Mini-Me.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So
I don't really get that reference, but okay.
Just with less brass knucks.
I'll go with it.
Less brass knucks, I'm telling you. The main event was Akira Tozawa versus Hideo Itami. This was a great match. A lot of strong style stuff in this. I seriously, people underestimate how great Tozawa is as a promo.
Yep.
As a non-English speaker promo, he's great. And then the two of these guys work well in the match in the ring together.
They definitely bring some of the non-WWE elements to the WWE, and I think that's what I appreciate most about both of these guys, especially. And then you put them together and against each other, man, it all just came out. And this match was fan-freaking-tastic.
And they were given the time to put on a good hybrid style match where you had a little bit of many different styles blended with a WWE style. So it was, I liked that. I liked the fact that you had elements of a WWE match, but then you had lots of other things you could see getting put into it. And it was fun for that reason. the crowd was surprisingly into it, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
You know, I always worry about 205 Live, but yeah, good match. Tommy does pick up the win pretty clean. And I'm curious if the feud goes forward, if he's now put Tozawa in his rear view, or if Tozawa will say, no, I ain't finished with you, and come after him.
I don't think this can be done yet. I think there's a little bit more story to tell here.
I agree.
But I don't know what you do with them beyond this feud.
They had enough good heat built up to start this match that they could absolutely go somewhere with it. So yeah, very, very curious to see where this goes. But if we're speaking about strong style, let's head over and talk about New Japan, because the Best of Super Juniors tournament is going on right now. There's been 4 really strong nights so far. And my God, the amount of good wrestling it's hard to explain to you if you don't watch New Japan, how insane some of these matches are, especially with these guys. This is their cruiserweight would be diminishing to call it that, but it's their super juniors. It's their smaller guys who do more high flying moves, faster matches, flippy shit. But that's really, I mean, that term came about because of Ricochet versus Will Ospreay in the Best of Super Juniors from a few years ago, and a match that they had, which was just nothing but high spots. This is the tournament where you see these guys go crazy. And there's a lot of guys here this year that are pulling out the stops. ACH is having a great year so far. Flip Gordon is making a huge impression and is already over with the Japanese audience. We talked a week or two ago about Taiji Ishimori, who got introduced as the new Bone Soldier with Bullet Club. He's doing an incredible job. His opening match against Will Ospreay was fantastic. I was up in the middle of the night watching it and jumping out of my bed because it was so good. Will Ospreay, of course, always good. He's shown up big already.
Side question for you real quick. Is Will Ospreay the hardest working man in professional wrestling today?
If not the hardest working, he's certainly on another level this year. He's going to be in the conversation for Wrestler of the Year, and we're not even halfway done with the year yet. Yeah. And that's not just my opinion. Don't just take it from me. That's pretty much the general opinion, is he is having a barn burner of a year with matches against Kazuchika Okada. He's, his match against Marty Scurll, where he almost broke his neck and then came back 2 weeks later and was wrestling at WrestleMania weekend in a ton of indie shows. I mean, the guy he's out of control right now. But he's not the only one in this tournament. You've also got Hiromu Takahashi, who obviously we love on this show. He's having he had a couple great matches. He had one against Desperado where I swear to God, they were trying to kill each other, which is what they do every time they have a match. But that match is well worth checking out. Quick shout out to Marty Scurll. We just mentioned him a second ago. That son of a bitch attacked Daryl.
Yeah, that's not cool,
That's not cool, man. No. Especially when it's Daryl's brother in the audience being held by a fan.
Yeah.
And he pulled it out of his fan's hands and threw it on the ground and started flipping it off and screaming at it. But luckily, Hiromu Takahashi is a gentleman, and he picked up Daryl's brother and gave it back to the fans. So, thank you, Hiromu.
Don't do that shit, villain.
Dragon Lee is over there right now. I thought he was injured, but he's killing it. Him and Sho are having a big feud. They're trying to kill each other over in Block B. Real quick, just right now, where it stands, for some freaking reason, Tiger Mask 4 is in the lead in Block A with 6 points, and then everyone else is right behind him with 4. Flip Gordon, Taiji, and Will Ospreay. Block B, Dragon Lee and Desperado are in the lead, and everyone else is behind them. But we're just getting started. Like the numbers don't even matter right now. Everything could turn around. I'm definitely going to be covering this. It's a lot of fun. I really recommend checking it out. And if you need some little WWE in your New Japan, then you should check it out for Jericho, who after a tag match where Naito was involved, the lights went out, and Naito looked over, and on the big screen, there was Jericho calling him out and saying he's going to beat his ass at Dominion. If you've never seen Jericho give a promo outside of WWE, the boy has a potty mouth.
Yes.
He has a very, very bad...
Forewarning, not safe for work.
His mama needs to get some soap because he likes to swear a lot. It's a lot of fun, and it's well worth it to see something you won't see in WWE. Someone cuts a promo on the Titantron, cut back to the ring, and the guy in the ring's falling asleep on the floor.
Brilliant.
Because he's tranquilo.
I love Naito.
I love Naito.
Wait, she's here. She's in the studio.
That's just Carmella. Don't worry about it, dude.
Oh, yeah. Well, that wraps things up for that, but we've got some other news that we've got to go over real quick. So we're going to rattle these off, our quick little lightning round here.
Lightning round.
WWE pay-per-views are all now officially 4 hours. 5 hours for the big 4 each year, but we're sticking to the 4 hour format, and they all start at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, that's what they're telling all of their providers right now is that will be the format going forward. It won't be 3 hours and we go over. It'll be 4 hours and we go over.
Why do they have to tell anybody? Why it's just on the network? Are
No,
they still selling? Are people still buying these for $60
On
a
demand,
piece?
Yeah. And it's any
That's crazy.
providers. Yeah, well, it happens.
Okay.
And it also, if you're watching it in a like a live venue, like a bar or something, they still have to purchase it. They can't show it on the network. It's
Oh, that's
illegal.
true. Oh, hey, can I do the next one?
Yeah.
Can I do the next one?
Yes, go, buddy, go.
Tony Storm officially signed with WWE UK division. Oh,
Yes.
She dropped her title at Progress. She did retain the WXW championship, but I see that being more of a anyway. Tony Storm's coming to WWE.
If you're a listener of the show, there are three things that Nick likes: Braun Strowman's beard, Tony Storm, and Nia Jax losing. Tony Storm did lose her title to Ginny at Progress number 69, which just happened. So she has not fully started doing the belt drop yet. She still has her WXW belt and her Stardom Joshi belt. But she has lots of opportunities to lose those before the Mae Young Classic starts filming on August 7th and 8th. We assume she will be in the Mae Young, and she's both of our pick to win it this year.
She is definitely my pick to win it, and what a great, fantastic entrance into NXT in the WWE.
Yeah, come in with all the boosters firing.
Oh, yeah. Because she made it to the semifinals last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah, she was
right.
almost in the she was almost at the end last time.
It was Baszler that I think that got over. All right.
But then so she will not. She's already announced she's not going to be in Stardom's 5-star Grand Prix, so she could drop the Stardom belt. That's in September, so she could drop it between now and then. There's plenty of time. So we'll wait and see if the belt drop begins, because that is a good sign that someone's going to go to WWE is when they drop all of their belts. And
Hashtag Tony time.
Could be here we go.
It is Tony time.
Speaking of Progress Wrestling and ICW, it's being rumored very soon will be shown on the WWE network. They've been talking about a lot of things. This has been talked about before, is having Progress and ICW, which are essentially at this point, they're satellite WWE promotions. You know what I mean? They're feeder promotions for WWE, particularly the UK talent. It's been in talks before that they were supposed to go down the network. It might now happen because there are also talks about the network becoming tiered, having different tiers.
It's inevitable.
For
it's
content.
Going to happen.
Yeah, which is I'm totally fine with. If you want to charge me an extra $2 and I get to watch all of Progress's current and back catalog, charge me $2 extra. I'm in.
Yeah.
And ICW as well. So yeah, so that would be very exciting indeed.
A few minutes ago we were talking about Will Ospreay being one of the hardest workers or the biggest, busiest men in professional wrestling. I got to throw a shout out to John Hennigan, aka John Morrison, aka Johnny Mundo. He's all over the place. Not only has he been in Lucha Underground, and he's going to be in season 4 coming up, he is also in Impact as Johnny Impact. Right. So, and in addition, he is going to be on Survivor, which starts on, what is that?
Season 37.
Yes.
Season 37. Really? Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, I'm not sure when that's going to start. But Boone the Bounty Hunter. He's got his own movie. I believe it's on Netflix. And you know what else he's doing?
What?
He's also he's not just Johnny Mundo, Morrison, Impact, and Hennigan. He's also Johnny Blackcraft. Blackcraft Wrestling. It's a new promotion. It's related to the clothing and lifestyle culture group of the same name. They're based out of LA here.
Yeah.
They're starting a wrestling organization. Their first show is called Burning Bridges. It's taking place August 24th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Why Pittsburgh?
Because why not? What's wrong with Pittsburgh?
Why not LA?
Return of the Living Dead, man. Come on,
right.
Or Night of the Living Dead. Excuse me. He's actually gonna be facing Johnny Havoc and our LA's own Brody King.
Nice.
In the title match on that show, so that should be pretty good. They've also, they've got guys like Cortez Castro is going to be on the show from Lucha Underground. Pierre Carl Ouellette, PCO, will be there. So it should be interesting to keep an eye on. I'm curious to see what Blackcraft Wrestling does, and the merch is very cool looking. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Well, hey, we mentioned it earlier in the show, but Jason Jordan is set to return. If you want to hear more about that, definitely go back to the Raw section where we were talking about Chad Gable. Matt Capitelli from Tough Enough 3.
This is a sad story.
Is currently battling brain cancer.
So he's been battling brain cancer since 2007. It's actually the reason why he had to drop out of, at the time, Ohio Valley Wrestling. He ended up being a trainer for a while. He was fighting it for a while. I'm going to say this wrong, but it's a type 4 glioblastoma, something like that. It's like one of the most virulent kinds of cancer.
Yeah.
And he's kind of bounced back from it a few times now. Apparently it's at the point where they're stopping treatment. Like the wife has tweeted out they're stopping treatment. They still have a GoFundMe going to try and raise support for him, but he's reaching the end, which is really sad because he was a really talented guy. So sending out lots of good thoughts to him. And
if you'd like to contribute, they do still have a GoFundMe going on to help take care of ongoing life issues and things like that. But you can find that on GoFundMe.com. I think it's .org, maybe .com. Just search for GoFundMe. You'll find it on there. In other news, NWA and Ring of Honor, Nick Aldis and Mark Haskins facing off against the Young Bucks at Honor United.
Yeah, so we were talking about this where Cody said that Nick Aldis would get a shot at him, or that the NWA title would be defended at All In September if Nick Aldis faced the Young Bucks with a partner of his choice at the Ring of Honor show, Honor United in the United Kingdom. So Nick Aldis went and found Mark Haskins, which is a great choice. The guy's got a long history in Dragon Gate, Ring of Honor, and TNA. That should be a fantastic match. In other NWA news, they're going to have a match here in Hollywood on June 10th, which is where Aldis is going to face Josephus and Crimson, and the winner there will be the NWA champ that goes and faces Cody. So it's going to be Nick Aldis. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah.
It's not going to drop the belt. I can't imagine. I mean, I didn't think that Nick Aldis would pick up the belt in the first place. So what do I know? But I'm pretty sure it's going to be Nick Aldis and Cody at All In.
Yep.
And it should be
That's gonna be a great match.
It's going to be a bunch of great matches, and it's going to be a really fun road getting there to that match at All In.
I can only imagine all the social media stuff that's going to happen between now and then.
Yeah, and Cody has said he does want to stream All In. He's going to do his damnedest to get that viewable to people who aren't actually there, because obviously he wants the more people to see it, the merrier. But right now it's an uphill battle. So
yeah, I get that.
Fingers crossed.
That's an expensive venture, guys.
And it's an expensive trip for us Los Angelinos to make it out to Chicago, especially after spending money for all these New Japan shows that we've been spending money on. But yeah, that'll do it for this week of Busted Wide Open. We are on the downhill slope to Money in the Bank over in WWE. So we've got a lot to talk about over the next couple of weeks. Also, you may have noticed our anniversary show did not come out again this week, and there's a reason for that. There's a very good reason for that, which we will hopefully be able to discuss when we finally do record it. We're 100% going to record it at the top of next week. We can't wait anymore. We got to do it. Just so that everyone who's listening knows where this show is headed and why it's headed there, and give you like kind of behind the scenes, pull the curtain look.
All good things.
All good things.
All good
all
things.
Very good
Don't want to
things.
scare anybody.
But kind of an explanation and a look behind how the workings of this show, where we're at and where we want to take this over the next year and just over the next however many years.
Yep.
So stick around for that. Come back for that. We will have that up at the beginning of next week. And hopefully, the reason we've been pushing it back is because we're hoping for some big news. If that does come through, you will hear about it on that show. If it doesn't come through, you'll never hear about it again.
Yes.
So listen to us next week for that, as well as our regular show, which will, of course, cover WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor, and anything else we can get our grubby little mitts on.
Yes, quick shout out to our Patreon supporters, Lorne, Bibash, Ryan, Andy, and Esther.
And
thank
all
you
the
very
rest
much.
of them, yes.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Every dollar counts. If you'd like to support us, head over to patreon.com/BWO. Throw a couple of bucks in the tip jar. Sign up to do your very own shoot promo right here on the podcast with me and Ian. And definitely come over to Facebook and hang out with us in the Busted Wide Open discussion group. Lots of funny memes, lots of posts, and you get to weigh in on what questions and comments we address throughout the week. Also, give us a follow on Twitter at BWO Podcast. And if you want to buy some merch to support this show, rock it around, let everybody know that we are your favorite wrestling podcast. Head over to orbitaljigsaw.com/store. Pick up a t-shirt, hoodie, phone case, sticker, coffee mug, all that good stuff, you name it.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this show. Whatever podcast app you're on, hit that subscribe button. If there's a place where you can leave a review for us.
Yes.
We love getting feedback. Let us know either on the podcast app or in the Busted Wide Open Facebook discussion group. Let us know what we could do to make this show better for you guys. We are definitely thinking about that every time we make a show. And don't forget to share this with your friends. Let your friends know about this show, because we are trying to grow our audience to make it an even bigger community for everyone who loves professional wrestling and sports entertainment.
But I'm Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Podcasts.
And I am Sir. That's a new one, isn't it, buddy?
Yes.
I am
I
Sir Ian.
threw you a curveball there.
I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
But by God!
Will somebody stop the damn match?
This show is part of the Orbital Jigsaw Network. For more episodes, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio. For details and show notes from each episode, check us out, orbitaljigsaw.com.